Hi guys, welcome. Danny here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So today we're talking a little bit about the Pisces sun sign. If you are born as a Pisces, you're usually born somewhere between February 29th and March 20th, depending on the year. Of course, the cusps, either end, can carry more characteristics of Aquarius, and the other cusp can carry more characteristics of Aries, but basically the characteristics of the Pisces sun sign. Pisces rules the 12th house, which is the house of secrets. It's also the psychic, mysticism, that kind of stuff. It would be anything that deals with spirituality or studying astrology, things like that, is sort of covered in the 12th house. It's also your secrets. And Pisces rules the feet, and they are the fish. The interesting thing about Pisces is that they are a dual sign, and they are a sign of two fish. One swimming upstream, the other switching downstream. So in most Pisces lives, they have a choice of either taking the high road or taking the low road, and the decision will always be theirs. I have found that in my life, I usually wind up taking the high road because that's just what my intuition tells me. And even on those occasions where I've tried to fight it, I still always wind up doing the right thing, or at least I try to do the right thing. I also feel like that Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune is the planet of illusion and delusion. So in some cases, it can make you have great psychic insight, and then in other cases, it can make you a little bit psychotic. So just be a little bit careful, because sometimes there's just a fine line between the two. Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter, so sometimes Pisces natives do have a stroke of luck, and they can be very lucky people. Anyone that has too much Jupiter, like too much of a good thing is not such a good thing, they can have an issue with too much. So, for example, I had a friend of mine who was a Pisces who was extremely lucky. She was always winning with gambling. She was always winning when she went to like the casinos and things like that. But on the other hand, she also had somewhat of a gambling dependency. Like, it was sort of her thing. So you could kind of see that as lucky as she was, she also had this addiction to it. And too much Jupiter can do that. It can make you love to eat, or it can make you love to drink. It can form that kind of an addictive thing because Jupiter likes what feels good. And sometimes too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So Pisces can kind of sometimes, as with other water signs too, battle addiction issues. They can sometimes struggle with the dependency on something, because escaping reality, when reality can be very tough to a Pisces native, is sometimes the easier way out, escaping. They tend to be very psychic, and they tend to have psychic dreams. I myself have had some really psychic dreams in my life. Like, the one that always sticks out in my head, and I may have mentioned it before, was when I got this townhouse. My brother and I were looking for a place to live, and we were both young, and we wanted to stay in the area, and it was the first place we looked at. And while it only had one bedroom, the dining room was big enough to make into a second bedroom for him, and it was affordable for us that we could split it without a problem. At the time, my dog was, well, she was probably about 13 or 14 years old, and getting an apartment without her was just not an option. We weren't in such a hurry to get the place. Like, we were still living with our mother, and we still had a little bit of time, so we weren't in such a rush. So when we looked at this place and we wanted to go for it, it came back that there were no dogs allowed in this place. And it was a huge bummer, because it was like literally 2 miles up the street from one job and like 8 miles up the street from the other. And it just was in the perfect location at the perfect price, and it was just perfect. So we let it go, and the realtor said that she would keep looking. So that was probably, it was over the winter time sometime. And I had a dream one night that the realtor called me and said there was a mistake. the landlord didn't think you were allowed to have dogs, but you are allowed to have dogs. So you can have the place as long as she can meet the dog and that she thinks the dog is friendly or whatever, it'll be fine. So I remember in the dream saying to the realtor on the phone, no, the rules are the rules. I don't want to break the rules and get in trouble and have to move out. And I don't want to have to give up my dog. Let's just find something else. And she was like, no, there are dogs there. You're allowed to have dogs. I promise you. So in the dream, I got the apartment. And I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. That next day at work, the realtor called me. And that's exactly what she said. She said, you can have the place because the landlord made a mistake. She was over at the place this weekend and dogs are allowed there. She just wants to meet the dog. And that week I brought my dog over to the real estate agency to meet the landlord. The landlord was fine with it. And that was like in April sometime because we moved in May. So that was like a serious psychic dream. So sometimes I have them. Sometimes they're personal, so I'm not going to talk about them, like about things that happened in my personal life. So I'm not going to say them all, but that was one that was like exactly. It was like exactly the way it happened in the dreams, the way it happened in reality. I feel too that with Pisces being as psychic and intuitive as they tend to be, they need to listen to their intuitions even more and pay attention to them, because a lot of times if you don't listen to your intuition, things break, like electronics break, things malfunction, like just because the energy's got nowhere to go, like it's not being channeled right and things just dysfunction. It's just listen to your intuition. You'll be better off for it. So that's that. What else? They say that Pisces tend to have a slower metabolism than other signs. They tend to be a little slower. I tend to have a lot of the energy, and I get a lot of things done, and I'm sort of scattered, but I am a Gemini rising, so I think that that's why. I think that's more of the Gemini in me rather than the Pisces. So this is why I find astrology to be so interesting, because if you look at a Pisces native that is born, like, say, February 19th or February 20th, they will be very different from a Pisces that's born like March 19th. The March 19th person might have a whole bunch of planets in Aries, whereas the February 19th one may have a lot of planets in Aquarius, and they're very different. Plus the rising sign and the moon sign, it all goes into it. So learning astrology, it's like a constant journey. I'm always learning things. And then, of course, there's every year your solar return chart. So I was actually studying my solar return chart yesterday just to see what I can kind of expect and predict in the year to come. So it's interesting that Pisces, which is a water sign, it's also mutable, so they tend to go with the flow and they tend to get along easily with others. But they do have a little bit of a bitchy side, and especially Pisces women can sometimes have that reputation of being bitchy, which I find funny because I don't think that I'm bitchy, but there are occasions where I could see where maybe I come off like that, or I come off standoffish or something, because I'm not overly outgoing and overly friendly. So that's interesting to note. Let me think, is there anything else I can say about Pisces? They are creative. I think that's the one thing that they have in common with Aquarians, that they are creative. And I think that's about it. So if you like what we're doing here at the Magic Junk Jar, don't forget to like, subscribe, share us with your friends, and we will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.